And it is, gosh, you got to get the website in there, too.
Jump the gun.
I am too excited to do this show. It is Denver Sports Tonight on a Tuesday night in the Mile High City. He's Marcello Romano. I'm Will Petersen. Rolling with you for the next hour. Really wish we had three cello because there is so much to unpack from one of my favorite Denver Nuggets games of all time. We will go through it all in the next hour. We'll also get to the Avs, maybe a little Broncos too, I promise. But you have to begin at the end, and of course you have to begin with the buzzer beater. I can't wait to unpack everything that led up to Jamal Murray's buzzer beater because there's about 17 different things that went right for it to happen. A couple that went wrong too.
Yeah.
But just your reaction. Let's start with walk me through the mind of Marcello Romano when LeBron pushes off KCP, there's no whistle, and the ball goes in and out, and Michael Porter Jr. gets the rebound.
Well, here's the difference. So there's a new age generation of Nuggets fans, right? But then there's also the people that you were on the tail end of, kind of like what I grew up with, oh man, whatever can go wrong will go wrong with this team. And I'm still learning that, Will, that this team is completely different. You know, it's one of those things where I was like, oh, if we just have a chance. Because now we're getting there. Before I was like, oh, he's going to make it, or we're going to miss the shot, or you're going to turn the ball over. To see that, I'm trying to think of the amount of elation just being down on my couch watching that game. I'm watching it with my wife, and I don't think I've seen her jump up and scream like that. Kids are asleep.
Sure.
One was awake watching the game. The other one was passed out. But since the Rockies won the play-in game, because it was the finality of the moment, and the guy who struggled the entire game and just couldn't get out of his own way, finally found that rhythm in the last 4 or 5 minutes. It was fitting for him to be the one who knocked it down at the end.
You're right, and he had that message after the game, and Peyton Manning actually came on with Stokely and Josh today and talked about that and said they exchanged text messages, and Jamal just told him, I just kept going, and that's a good message for any athlete out there, whether you're 12 years old or a professional. Sometimes you just got to keep going. That's what Jamal did. He said on TNT, his teammates told him, hey, keep shooting, man. You are one of our best shooters. You need to keep shooting. He scores the final 6 points for the Nuggets. I mean, underrated is his jumper over LeBron with 35 seconds left to tie it up,
Exactly.
Because if that goes in and out, then you're debating to play the foul game. There's just Michael Porter Jr.'s 3 is huge. There's just so many moments. But I think for me, I'll just walk you through it. When LeBron goes in and out, first of all, I'm thankful because he pushed off KCP, and I was hoping for an offensive foul, but you're never going to get that call.
And he was hot in the fourth. I mean, he hit a couple big shots down the stretch.
And MPJ gets the ball, and the first thought is they're going to call timeout. And you realize how much faith Michael Malone has in this team to leave that timeout in his pocket.
Yeah.
And the second thought is you've got to get the ball to Nikola Jokic. Like, why has this not touched Nikola Jokic's hands yet? And then it gets to 4, and it gets to 3. And it's amazing your mind can work this fast, but it can. And you realize, Jamal's going to take this shot.
Yeah.
And he goes to the corner, a spot he loves to be in, and hits that fadeaway in AD's eye. And it was sweet, sweet revenge for the bubble in 2020 when what did AD do? He hit a dagger buzzer beater in Game 2 to go up 2-0 on the Nuggets in the Western Conference Finals. Felt like we've come full circle.
Yeah, completely. And one of the things that I think was underrated, and I'm with you, right when he gets the rebound, I'm screaming call timeout. For me, some reason, that would be what I would go to as a coach. I probably would call timeout and see if I can draw something up. But then when you watch the replay, watch Nikola Jokic just conduct it. He's moving. There's 11 seconds left, Will, and he's moving people to the places he wants them, knowing that was the play that was going to get played or go play out. And it was a bit clunky up until the very last second, until he let go of the shot. I mean, I was like, damn, is he going to fall down? And then it was just a thing of beauty, and it was the best shot he took easily all night, and it touched nothing. Nothing. It was pure.
It was so pure. And then the moment the Nuggets posted a great video from their team's social account, the photographer on the baseline, he gets the shot, and then he immediately runs over to the bench, and he is just getting mobbed by his teammates. It's chaos. He's on the bottom of this dog pile. You got Anthony Davis falling into the Nuggets bench. Yep. Kentavious Caldwell-Pope trying to protect him, pick him up, make sure he doesn't get hurt, which was a classy and sportsmanship-esque thing to do. You got LeBron James running down the officials and cussing them out because he thought he wanted an and one with 48 seconds left.
Yeah.
I mean, you could make a movie about that scene at Ball Arena in those final 10 seconds last night. There is so many different angles of what's going on, including all the great shots from the stands of fans. We all have cameras in our pocket now. Zach Byes was great There was plenty of others that were really fun too. And you just realize when the ball goes in, the pop you hear, the whole arena pops at the exact same time. And it's just 19,000 people experiencing ecstasy at the exact same moment.
It's funny you say that because my 12-year-old, I was driving him to school this morning. He's the one who wasn't awake. He had baseball practice last night. He crashed. So and Schlereth and Evans were replaying just like the audio. And he was saying, I get chills right now just listening to the crowd. I'm not even listening to the call. So to that point, watching that many people erupt at that moment, given what they went through in that game just to get back in it, their last lead was like 3 in the first quarter.
I think it was 5-3 was what I saw. Something like that. It was absurd.
Yeah.
It was very low.
Ridiculous. So they fought that entire time to get back and dealt with haymaker after haymaker because in that first half, Anthony Davis he was on fire, man. He was in the zone. And in the second half, LeBron making those big threes down the stretch, I was like, dude, this just isn't going to be their night. I mean, you can't get Jamal going. And then we say, hey, there's still 4 minutes left, and look what happened in that 4-minute stretch.
Well, and it's funny you bring that up, too, because even when they were down 20, any other team, not their night. And I'm not going to sit here and lie to you and say, oh, yeah, I knew they were going to win down 20. But I think we all had that inkling of, like, I'm going to keep this game on because you never say never with these Denver Nuggets. Again, I wasn't predicting they were going to come back, but you didn't think they were out of it. And then when they got it to 10 going into the fourth quarter, it's like, they may win this game, and, of course, the rest is history.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, well, and there's a reason you thought that, too. The core of this team has come back from 3-1 deficits a couple times back in the bubble, but this is their largest deficit ever coming back from in a playoff game, Will. So, the old Nugget fan in me was like, dude, it's just not going to happen tonight, especially when AD's playing the way he is. D'Lo was on fire in that first half as well. The biggest thing was that they were able to get Anthony Davis into a little bit of foul trouble in the second half, so he had to sit out a little bit, kind of cooled him down a little bit. But even in that stretch, LeBron kept making shots. And the defense on both sides it was like, 80-80 going into the fourth quarter. It was an old school, like a 1980s NBA basketball game.
Sure, you felt like you had taken a time machine back, 101-99, more of an old school final score. We are hitting the hardwood and reviewing the Nuggets and Lakers, brought to you by Papa Murphy's. Okay, so let's go back to LeBron hits that next dagger 3 to go up 89-81 with under 6 minutes to go. And even then, you've crawled all the way back. You've gotten it to 10 after 3, but you're down 9 with, let's be honest, not a lot of time left.
Because they pulled it to within 2 before
they
that,
had,
right?
and then LeBron goes bananas with those 2 threes. Yeah. And after that, first of all, Anthony Davis never scored again. He didn't score again before that, but I was stunned that they couldn't get AD a good look inside. And maybe that's Michael Malone and Nikola Jokic making adjustments, but it was like, man, we're really going to, have Austin Reeves shooting jumpers when we've got Anthony Davis inside. But then it just became methodical because even though LeBron did hit 2 more shots, Jamal was just in a zone that when he gets his look in that look in his eyes, he's one of the most clutch players I've ever watched in the NBA. And I don't think that's hyperbole to say that today. Jamal Murray is a good, really good regular season player. He's like a freaking Hall of Famer all-timer in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Between the bubble last year and what we've seen so far this year.
For sure. And you heard him on one of the cutaways. He just told Coach Michael Malone, hey, I just want a free throw. I need to see something go in. Kind of fitting that he did get those free throws late in the fourth quarter. Another thing I noticed, though, Will, was inside that last 5 or 6 minutes, when the Lakers would hit a shot, the amount of pressure and aggressiveness, the Nuggets were just storming down the court. There was 2 times where I even said, I was like, look, there's 2 players on the Lakers that aren't even making it back down the court. They were gassed at that point. And it's like the Nuggets just kind of waited, and then they seized their opportunity, and they pushed the pace big time in that fourth quarter, at least last 5 minutes.
Well, in another instance where they pushed the pace, it's the signature play of the game, outside, of course, of the buzzer beater. LeBron makes that ridiculous dunk to go up 95-92. And I want your opinion on what happened, because the Nuggets kind of chaotically come the other way, and it looks like Nikola is trying to draw a foul on a shot like 10 feet behind the three-point line, and it's like, you're never going to get that whistle. But the ball, Aaron Gordon somehow saves it 2 feet inbounds on the baseline, finds Michael Porter Jr., MPJ sets his feet, which we know he struggled, that stepping on the line thing, but he finds his feet knowing we have to have 3 down 3, and buries one of the silkiest three-pointers you will ever see. Jamal's didn't touch rim. MPJ's barely touched net. It goes straight freaking through. What a moment for MPJ to make that shot. And also, in maybe not Nikola Jokic's finest moment, in a night he was absurd, and we will get to that, AG bails him out, and then MPJ bails him out, and the Lakers got to be thinking, I cannot believe this basketball game is tied at 95.
I think you're right. I think that was probably the underrated moment that actually kind of tipped it. Because 9 times out of 10, the ball goes out of bounds, or maybe AG steps on the line when he's trying to make the play. For him to make the play and then hit MPJ, who he's not getting enough credit today, I don't think. I mean, he was, for what he's going through outside of the arena and in real life, for him to go out and put a performance like that together. Reggie Miller kept talking about D'Lo getting hate after game 1, right? He was terrible. He was the first one in the gym. He was the first one at the optional shoot-around. Jamal Murray did it in the same game. He was 3 for 16 after 3 quarters. And I was like, man, it's just not going to be his night. And the amount of confidence and swagger that you have to have, Will, because you and I played basketball. I missed 3 or 4 shots. I'll pass for a bit, okay?
I'm going to chill out.
It's one thing for your teammates to constantly say, hey, just keep shooting, man. You got to be a different kind of cat to be like, all right, I'll keep doing it. And he ended up, 9 of 24, I think was it?
Yeah, it was a respectable night when it was all said and done.
And he even thought it was still trash. He called them the BS floaters he was throwing up there.
All right, so what is the Lakers' mindset now, Cello? Because the Nuggets reached in, grabbed their heart, ripped it out, and stomped on it last night. And you saw it. I mean, we'll get to some of the audio. I'll hear Anthony Davis's little meltdown after the game. Slams the microphone. That was a question from Pat Graham of the Associated Press, local guy, super nice guy, nicest guy in the world. And all Pat's looking for is a quote from AD about what happened on the final play. And AD has the maturity of about a 6-year-old.
Mic drop.
Mic drop. Yeah, that's the wrong kind of mic drop. You're supposed to mic drop when you say something funny or witty or creative, not when you have a temper tantrum. But, I mean, between LeBron's F-bomb lace tirade about NBA replays, between Darvin Ham ripping the officials, and I don't know if you stayed up for the postgame show, but Charles Barkley completely obliterated that for Darvin Ham, somehow blaming that on the officials when we all know the stats about how many more free throws the Lakers shoot than any other team in the NBA. I think they're a broken team, Cello. I think the L.A. Lakers have been broken after 10 straight losses by the Denver Nuggets.
I think there's probably going to be a roller coaster of emotions that they'll go through in the next, 72 hours. Because after that game, when you could see that they were defeated, like there's nothing, what can we do? How much better do we have to play for us to not even they had a 20-point lead and they never felt like they were safe with it. But not only that, but to not even be able to hold on to win the game. So obviously after the game, I think you're right, completely defeated. In the next couple days, they'll recharge and say, hey, and I wouldn't be surprised if they come out aggressive again on Thursday night and maybe build up a little bit of, it's Thursday night, right?
Mm-hmm. Draft 2 nights off here.
Draft night. But I think ultimately they're just going to keep running. It's like when you play your older brother in something and they're just better than you. So even if you have that lead and you're like, oh, I'm going to beat him this time, something will happen where the experience that the Nuggets have gained over the last 4 or 5 years, it takes them over the top. And when they play that way, they're just a better team.
But do you think LeBron and AD have that kind of resiliency in them to make this a series somehow? Or is last night the segue to another sweep?
Here's the problem I've had with LeBron. And I loved him when he first went to the Heat. But since then, I've always gotten this sense when he's lost in the NBA playoffs or in the finals that there's always been like, I didn't have enough around me. I can't do it all, guys. And I think it's probably going to be like that two-man show. You saw them working their pick and roll last night. But the way that he looks at other people and wanting people to kind of help lift him up, that's my biggest discrepancy with him and Jordan, is that one was like, if they ain't going to help me, I'll take care of it. Kobe was very similar in that, in the way that he carried himself like that too. But that attitude at some point or another, even if he's playing well and people aren't picking up, their part of the team, he's going to have a problem with it. And I think that wears on teammates.
Well, he went viral last night for all the wrong reasons. Here's LeBron James being sad that the NBA didn't rig the game for him. That's what the cut says on the iPad. So I think that was Simmer or something.
You want to know what bothers me? Is that you actually compared it to that Philly-New York game.
Yeah, he's now.
Your call that you're talking about happened in the third quarter. All right, and they did call it on the floor. They just overturned it. That call in New York literally changed probably that series, and it happened in the final minute of the game. That's a missed call.
Yeah.
Yours is nothing like that.
I totally agree. I mean, the Lakers are the joke of the NBA today. Everyone is making fun of them because it is pure joy to watch them blow a 20-point lead, whine and scream about a call in the third quarter, and have the whole country clowning on them. I mean, listen, LeBron, one foul call on D'Lo when you're having an all-time NBA collapse or against D'Lo or committed to D'Lo, whatever you want to call it, doesn't justify your team completely and utterly falling apart down the stretch or you missing a wide-open three-pointer with 15 seconds left. Because you know who makes that shot? Michael Jordan. You know who makes that shot? Kobe Bryant. And you know what you did? You LeBricked it. It went in and out, and they came down and hit a dagger in your best defender's face. That's life, bro. Not the NBA Replay Center fault. Your fault. Your team's fault.
Yeah, and that lack of accountability after the end of that game where you should be giving the opposing team credit.
You should say Jamal Murray hit an all-time shot.
Yes.
I mean, Davis tried to. The boink of the mic is so good.
I want to be. Hold on, AD. I got one more.
Yeah, I got one more.
Who was guarding him?
Hey, that's what Pat Graham was trying to get out of him. He just had a temper tantrum. But yeah, it just. First of all, you missed the shot, LeBron, and second of all, you give, like to your point, you give absolutely no credit for Jamal Murray making a phenomenal shot. I would love to see how the Nuggets traded Game 2 in the bubble. I guarantee you, someone on that team said, "Hey, we were up 2, and Anthony Davis made a 3 at the buzzer, and we tip our cap to him." Didn't hear any of that from the Lakers last night.
No, and I think you'd have a lot more fear in them being able to I don't know. Did you see they put up the graphic last night? The team that's come back to win series the most times after being down 1-0 in a series. And it's obviously the Lakers and the Celtics because of, their tradition and their history.
Right.
But you'd be a lot more fearful of them being able to turn it around and say, maybe they protect home court in L.A. if they would have just come out and said, this is what happened. Instead, we get the politicking already. You're not Phil Jackson, dude. I mean, listen, you played phenomenal tonight, and you didn't hit it down the stretch. But for that to be the one thing that he wanted to get across for people, because he sent it, that was a message to the league.
Of course.
Obviously. But instead of giving props to a team that fought back in a game that they did have a stranglehold on in that first half, they were running away with it, and the Nuggets just kept fighting, clawing, scratching, getting back into it. For them to get all the way back, him miss that shot, and then to make that dagger was just the elation is just. I'm like you. I can't get enough of it. I've seen the replay 100 times, and it just gets better each and every time. One, because of who did it and the struggles he was going through leading up to that point, and two, is there a more hated team in this region than the Lakers? The Nuggets up until last year had never beaten the Lakers in the postseason.
And now they've beaten them 10 times in a row, and they're firmly in their heads, and that's why I think Denver should pack their brooms with them on their way to L.A., and hopefully they are sweeping them out on Saturday night. All right, we've got to talk about Jokic because Murray deserves a ton of credit. But, Cello, he puts up 27, 20, and 10. He now leads and has led NBA playoff history triple-doubles with 25 and 20 and 10. It's just another absurd stat line from the Joker. He's distributing the ball. He's obviously rebounding the ball at an elite rate. He's only taking 16 shots, and yet he's putting in 27 points. Doesn't miss a free throw. I am running out of superlatives to describe this guy and how lucky we are to have him. And we always used to say, he could get into that all-time great conversation. He wins 14 more games, and he is in the all-time great conversation.
Well, there was a stretch where he didn't have a field goal for like 2.5 quarters.
And still dominated the basketball game.
He didn't have a field goal for that long. That's when Murray was right in the midst of his all-time struggles. So, obviously, watching that game play out, you're like, it ain't going to be their night. Maybe they found a recipe to slow down the Joker, and Murray's just not having it. This team can flip it like I've never seen before. It's why it's still new to me growing up as a Nuggets fan, because those are games every year of my life up until the last 4 years or so that they lose. They just end up losing those games. And they've been pulling these type of games out. This is what a champion does, man.
And they're pulling them out because of Nikola Jokic, right?
Yes,
Jamal Murray's phenomenal. Don't get me wrong. But Jokic is the one that when you're down 20 in the third quarter, you believe you can still win. And the Nuggets have never, ever, ever had a player like that. I'm sorry. Carmelo Anthony had some good years here. He was never coming back from down 20 in a playoff game. Allen Iverson wasn't coming back from down 20 in a playoff game. With all due respect, Alex English and Dan Issel probably weren't coming back from 20 in a playoff game.
Not only that, but what are they doing after they get the rebound off LeBron's miss?
Shooting.
They're going to get the ball, and they want to take it. Meanwhile, go look at Nikola. It's phenomenal.
He's
it's
conducting.
Like he's literally moving people around with 11 seconds left. They knew exactly what he wanted to do. And it wasn't like, give me the rock. I'm the one who needs to take this shot. Even knowing how much Jamal struggled, he was fine with it. And I don't know that there was anyone more excited in that arena last night than watching him after it went in, watching him run over to Jamal after that happened.
Yeah, it reminded me in Golden State when he hit the shot from inside half court, but he was just as excited for his teammate. All right, our recap Hitting the Hardwood was brought to you by Papa Murphy's, home of Take and Bake Tuesdays and $5 Fridays. Don't forget, guys, we are on YouTube at Denver Sports. Would love if you could go subscribe to our channel there. You get to see Rachel Vigil, Andrew Mason, Cecil Lammey with their great shows every day.